Minister to the House today, and I really want to speak in support of the huge contribution that councillors make to their local communities, which I believe is often forgotten. And I was very lucky to meet with councillors all across the country when I decided to run for election the Shannon last year, and I was blown away by the work that they do. And I really, and I feel terrible saying this, I wasn't aware before that of the fantastic work that they do. And I was in Sligo last month with the Association of Irish Local Government to get further input, and everywhere I've gone across the country, particularly when I was working on the public health alcohol bill, I've relied on hard-working councillors to engage local communities and make that key link. And it's been a real insight in the daily reality of the job, particularly the long hours that they work. I don't think there's just not enough. I just don't think there's enough awareness on how vital that the role is. I'm aware TDs work very hard to represent their constituencies, and they need to spend a lot more time here in Leinster House. They have a duty to think nationally as well as locally. It puts a big demand on their time, and their focus is on the country as a whole, not just their home area. The result of this is that councillors often become the first port of call for people with a problem. They're the people who can identify and track local issues and try to get them sorted quickly. And I know you know all this, Minister, but I really do feel it's important to highlight it today. Particularly important when it comes to vulnerable people, which is the area that I work in, many of whom may not know what kind of support they're entitled to or how to access it. Councillors step in here. They're almost like social workers. They're also like therapists, the ones that I've actually connected in with. In my work with the Rise Foundation and on the alcohol bill, I see a big crossover between the people sitting on local councils and those working on local drug and alcohol task forces, for example. You really need to be there for the people, and if you take this responsibility seriously, which the councillors that I have met definitely did, you end up working extremely long hours on top of your regular job. This leaves councillors in a very difficult position where they're trying to do a full-time role, but they're doing it out of hours, after work, or taking unpaid leave to follow up with constituents. They spend less time with their families as a result. The low pay means it just isn't viable for most people, and many feel it's unsustainable, particularly for those on lower incomes or those who don't have very flexible conditions in their primary job. This was made much worse when council sizes were cut in 2014. The reality is that a smaller number of councillors are now being asked to represent a much larger amount of people, often across huge geographical areas. This is the message I'm hearing again and again. Rural councillors in particular have raised it to me, and they cover hundreds of kilometres just to see constituents and attend meetings. I spoke with one councillor yesterday who described it as a phone car, grab a coffee, back in the car, daily routine, getting home after midnight as standard. In this situation, the car or the van is your office, and I think many councillors would like more engagement on how the small expenses allowed can be vouched and used. For example, meeting rooms are sometimes less important than being able to cover the costs of wear and tear and driving thousands of kilometres every week. Please don't do this for the money, but if we make it financially, and people don't do it for the money, but if we make it financially impossible, then a lot of good councillors will drop out or not step forward in 2019. Many councillors have also spoken to me in recent weeks about the proposed cuts to constituency sizes for local government, and I'd really urge the Minister to consider this. It's going to have a hugely negative effect on the independents and smaller parties. So as an independent, I'll just finish on this last year. As an independent senator, I'm proud of the achievements that myself and my fellow independents have had in this House from putting forward private members' bill to amend government legislation. Irish politics needs strong independent voices, particularly those who will represent the most vulnerable in society.
Thank you very much.
Senator
Senator Gabriel McFadden.